What is up, YouTube? Yao here, and first want to get this out of the way. My old name used to be Playtech, but I decided to change my name, so I'm gonna get that quickly out of the way. But anywho, this is the first video in my how-to series where essentially I will be breaking down a lot of the in-game mechanics and the specifics of Paladins, Champions of the Realm. Now, as far as credentials go, I used to be a ex-pro player. I've been playing the game since 2017, and I have been Grandmaster since 2018. Yeah, since 2018. I've been GM since then. And I have also peaked at being the number 1 GM in NA, number 2 in the world, or 3, something like that. I don't know. And I also as well have obviously a lot of competitive experience playing in scrims and tournaments. I've won a lot of tournaments in NA. I've won tournaments in Latin America. I've won tournaments in Europe, so I've definitely been around. And also I've also been Grandmaster in just about every major region, so NA, LATAM, Brazil, EU, and Southeast Asia, even playing with 250 ping. But all right, I just wanted to get that out of the way. So here I was gonna make different videos, and who knows, maybe I might still make them, basically focusing on making like very specific types of like how to position as a support on every single map. But then I just kind of thought, you know what, why not lump it into something a little bit more general, but not as I mean, it's general, but at the same time also very specific. And while I'm here explaining how the maps work and how to best position yourself on them and what to do in certain scenarios in order to simply win the game, I might as well, obviously, I'm going to inevitably talk about positioning and whatnot. So I'll basically be covering very specific tips for just about every role, that being, the main tank, off tank, support, and DPS, that being either the damage or the flank. So alrighty, now with that finally out of the way, oops, looks like my spectator's not working here. There we go. So this is Ascension Peak. Gotta start with the letter A first. A. So this is a very, first and foremost, this map. The strengths about this map is that you can very easily get away with playing a triple DPS comp on this map, and triple DPS doesn't necessarily even have to be purely like 2 damages in a flank, or like 1 damage, 2 flanks, or whatever. Like nowadays, especially with how strong support characters are and how basically all of them can do a lot of damage, and you can run certain damage builds with some supports, and you can definitely be running like solo tank with double support, double DPS. That has also been a thing, and Ascension Peak is definitely one of those maps that that is very good to be playing like these types of comps, simply because it is a very open map, but at the same time it can at times be very hard to actually flank people, especially when they're lasering you from across the map, because as you can see, like, yes, there are actually quite a few walls and whatnot, and you can definitely, like, hide behind a lot of natural cover, but at the same time the sight lines are very, very long, and the map in and of itself is like very open. So it's very open, but as you guys are about to see in a little bit, and how I'm going to explain things here, it can also be, just like I said, very hard to flank the other team, especially if one team knows how to position well and play well with each other, which, I mean, I guess that really comes down to every map, right? But especially again on this map, triple DPS is really good, also because on the point, the main tank can have such a nice time bobbing and weaving between these statues while still contesting the point, and not having to maybe use like a shield, like an Ash shield or a Nando shield, and have that resource be used, whereas you can just use the natural cover a lot of the times, and that not only will help you break line of sight of your enemies and break cauterize, but it can also again, save your resources. So anyway, I think that's a pretty big intro. So finally getting into the actual meat of things. How do you want to play on Ascension Peak for a point fight? So let's say, you know, we're blue team here, right? Obviously, this is a map where it actually kind of does depend a little bit on what type of composition you have. Also, for example, you will not approach a point fight, I mean, the same way at right now, for example, that's like 0-0, than if it were at a, you know, at a 1-1, 2-2 or whatever, but like, you know, at a point where both teams have ultimates up, you know, a point fight with ultimates is a little bit different than a point fight without them. But, you know, as all things, we're going to start from the beginning. So we're going to start with, how do you approach a point fight on Ascension Peak at 0-0, no ults, you know? And first and foremost, like I said, this kind of does depend on your comp. For now, though, I am going to assume, and for most of these, I'm just going to assume that's going to be a standard draft. What do I mean by standard? Well, one main tank, one off tank, one damage, one flank, and a support character, right? So, for this map, you can do this out of two ways. Again, like I said, this is just gonna be general tips, so I can't be super specific because, man, I'd be here literally all day. But essentially, if you want to play this left side, I guess we could call this well. You know, if you want to play well side, obviously, I think, you know, off tank should always be the first one up here on the high ground. And on any map, on almost any character, having high ground is always an advantage because you can just see everything much better. And, you know, like, for example, if there's someone on the ground, he can't really chase me if he has no vertical mobility. And if I just, like, slightly, like, back up or whatever, I can break lines of sight very easily. While, you know, it's hard for them to hit me, but it's easy for me to hit them. Anyway, so definitely, you know what? I'll actually just use an aerial view here. And let me switch to my pen. Essentially, again, assuming that we have a standard draft here, if you want to play for this left side, again, you probably start here with your OT, your off tank, and maybe have one of your damage characters here as well, depending on like what type of character it is. But you know, you could either have your damage character be here, or you can have them be here, right? Or if anything, you can actually have the flank here as well. You can have the flank here, same in this same general position. But you usually definitely want to have your damage either down here or here. Why is this? Because if the other team is also meeting here, or if even better, they only meet with one damage of their own, then they will easily, especially if this DPS advances all the way here and meets up with your off tank and a flank and then a damage, like, this is already 3 people versus 1. And if there's 2, then it's 3 versus 2. So you can, first and foremost, always having a numbers advantage is very important, right? And here you definitely will also have a positional advantage. As for the support, essentially you actually also want the support to be here. Man, I kind of didn't. I should have probably picked more colors for this. Oh well. Your support character definitely wants to be sitting right next to your damage character right here, or if you're not gonna have anyone down here, which is kind of like, that probably shouldn't happen. You know what? I actually low-key take back what I said about putting the DPS here. It should be the flank that should be starting here. Actually, I kind of messed up here. It should be the flank and the damage down here. That way, the support can either, like, he can go between here and here to be able to, you know, get the heals out effectively. Although you usually won't have to do this rotation because, I mean, I don't know, if you're playing Damba, then you have line of sight everywhere here. So that's kind of whatever. And then your main tank, will obviously be on point. Here's the statue, right? So he's probably just going to be in this general vicinity, right? That way, as you can see here, we're basically still in a sort of cluster, if you will, right? Like, I have line of sight of my off tank and flank very near each other. Here's damage, and damage and support near each other. Support and tank near each other. Support can see off tank, main tank, DPS. Like, you can see basically your whole team here, right? So this is generally how you would approach a fight this way if you were to take well side. Now, obviously, not every composition is, maybe good for taking well side, or you just deem that it's better to, play this differently. So what happens if we're not taking well side? What happens if we try to take fountain side, which would be this right side here? Then it's still kind of the same, and it's not really that hard, honestly. It's not that hard to grasp. You know what? Let me do a view from this side. Maybe right here is fine. So yeah, I'll do it like right here, actually. All right, that's good. Okay, so how would we position here? Basically, here's like the statue, right? Your main tank is just going to be right here. Again, as I said, it is very important. It's super imperative that your main tank stays alive by using these statues and staying near the statues, because the amount of cover it gives them is just crazy. It is absolutely insane. Now, just to go a bit faster, because again, like I said, it's not really that hard, and it's essentially the same thing. You're going to want your off tank taking at least clearing this side first. Not always. Sometimes you can have just a damage or a flank clear this area, because they have the mobility, and as long as they don't over peek, right? If they just like jiggle peek the corner, or even just stay in third person on their horse here, if they see people are coming, then they just back up. So either the off tank can be here, or they can just be here and kind of like walk it through this little hallway, obviously depending on the situation, because that's very valid as well, where they can just walk through this hallway and maybe even ignore the enemy main tank, and just push all the way through, and then your damage can also push through and pincer, and then you can pincer enemies that are here. And as far as support goes, your support player probably, as I said, you'd probably want to just be playing like right here. Again, it's just easy because you have lines of sight of the main tank. You can heal this side of fountain. You'll have a line of sight of like this hallway. So as a support, and this is just a very general thing about playing support, since most of them don't heal through walls or anything, it's important that you put yourself into positions where you're going to be relatively safe. But so essentially, the how would I call this? I don't know. Just like the most important thing about supports is being in a position that allows you to heal as many teammates as possible and have usually a line of sight on them, while also being in a position that keeps you safe to where you're not susceptible to get easily flanked and, potentially die. Because as the name implies, you're the support. You're the backbone of the entire team. If you die, doesn't mean that the team fight's over or that, none of that. But it is definitely a big blow, because healing is just very important, especially if you're like, if it's a standard draft and you're a main healer like a Damba, I don't know, a Ceres, a Ying, and you die. That is a lot of healing output that your team will lose if you die. So being able to stay in a position where you're relatively safe while also being able to help your teammates, that's what it's all about. So okay, that's where the support should be, right? Support should be right here. Let me erase some of these lines just so y'all don't get confused. Let's erase this. Let's just do it all in red again. So again, to recap, main tank goes on point next to the statue. Off tank can either be here or here, depending on the situation and whatever the champions you're playing. And you either push through here or you push through here. And essentially, you just these two positions are switched. You can, if the off tank is here, then the DPS will be right here, you know? And so you can have a DPS here and a DPS here. So as you see, essentially you're controlling all of this portion of the map. That is what you are controlling. Oh yeah, and support right here. You control all of this side of the map, and the beauty about it is that if this side you start losing, you can back up into your support, into maybe like your main tank, and you guys are in a position so that you can help each other out. If your main tank starts getting eaten on point, then then one of your like maybe your off tank can help the main tank, as well as like a flank or a DPS that are like standing right here, as you can see here. And I think this is probably going to be more true for like, you know, the lower elo players. Oh, actually, hold on. I should have probably erased all of this. Lower elo players, this is how they usually think about their roles, right? They just be like, oh, just main tank just goes straight to point. And a lot of them don't even have a general concept of even what an off tank is. They just see tank and they say tank, go point, you know? Flank, you have to always go by yourself on some kind of Rambo suicide mission and try to like kill their support. Oh, the flank's not killing their support, GG. And it's like, no, sometimes it's not that easy. And sometimes it's not even how you should be playing, or, you know, it's putting yourself at a risk. Because if the flank were to do that and he's just by himself, then if he gets in a tight situation, there's no one to bail him out, right? He can't get help from anyone. So this is definitely the safest and easiest way to play the point fight. All right, now with that out of the way, now let's say we're pushing, right? How do we attack on a push? Again, this map is a little trickier, and this is why I kind of don't like this map, because there's not too many ways to go about it, but rather it just sometimes can be kind of hard to keep pushing, because the defending team does have quite a bit of high ground that you kind of have to walk into. Granted, you can walk up onto this high ground, but at least for like the base first part, it is a little bit hard. The spawn is even harder, but it's still pretty hard to get past sometimes this essentially this choke, right? So how do we go about doing an offense, right? Pushing the cart. Again, you can do this different ways depending on how the team fight is going, because sometimes the cart is like barely right here, and you're already gonna have enemies with like an off tank here with a damage, their other damage, or flank. The support's probably going to be like right here, or right here even. That's probably where like the support is going to be playing. You have your damages and your off tank over here, and then they'll probably have their main tank sitting right here. Or and this is probably not the best way to do it if the other team is on defense, but I mean, it's just a possibility of how they could be set up. It could be basically all of that, but instead, sometimes they also have elected to put either just one off tank here, or, you know, this can be essentially either an off tank or just a DPS. They have a DPS here or an off tank, and then only like one off tank or DPS here. And then the other flank sometimes can be doing some shenanigans over here, maybe just creating a distraction or whatever. Support back here, main tank here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So obviously, depending on those two situations, right? How do you want to go attacking this? Well, if they have, let's say, if they have a lot of people, at the very least 2 people, off tank, DPS, and then they have DPS, support, main tank. Right. This setup will usually look like this in some way, shape, or variation. So how do you go about actually attacking this point? Well, essentially what you want to do here is just walk up. You want to walk up these stairs with your own off tank and your DPS, preferably. If all 3 of you can walk up, perfect. Where would the support be? Well, The support honestly can also choose to walk up here, because if the support stands like right here, and let's say like you guys push up, and you make these guys retreat, and you can take possession of the map up to like around here, then the support can chill right here, and have angles to, well, obviously he can go bob and weave in between this room and out and whatever, and then you can see essentially all of this. Well, I guess the room included, but that's obvious. So the support has an easier time healing his main tank, for example, right? Say this is now my main tank. He's gonna have an easy time healing his main tank, her main tank, whatever. And since we have, successfully taking, I guess, a hold of this room, then obviously you're going to be standing right next to your other 3 teammates. So it's a lot easier for you to not only stay safe and for them to peel for you. If somehow some guy like manages to flank all the way around, then your support just walks into this room and you're completely fine, right? So that's essentially where you'd want to be as a support, and to have like the maximum efficiency, I guess, and be safe while also being effective. So yeah, that's essentially all you really want to do. It's not rocket science. You just have to take a hold of this room. As you can see here, though, I'm not really saying too many like plays, like I said, of people going off on their own. That just doesn't work, especially if you want to climb the ranks. Communicating with your team and trying to get, your team to play as a team will, wow, surprise, shocker, give you better chances to win the game, because at the end of the day, this is a team-based game. So, all right. Now, let's say you want to attack through here, through these stairs, right? What do you do then? Again, very, very simple. You put a main tank here. You push with your off tank, and you can have 1 DPS, and then the other DPS can like try to slowly fight out. I'm not even going to say damage or flank. I'm just going to call it DPS because it's very interchangeable. You can have your other DPS try to either take control of the high ground by themselves, or at the very least just like occupy some of this space. And hopefully if the enemies have like a DPS, like an off tank and a DPS here, maybe one of the DPS gets distracted for a little bit as he's trying to shoot something else, and then this DPS can take advantage and try to kill off theirs, right? But this guy's obviously going to be playing super safe. You have to play super safe if you're going to be playing by yourself. Every single time you're by yourself, doesn't even matter what champion you're playing, you just have to try to make sure to stay as safe as possible, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter if you try to get something done if that just gets you killed. Like, your life is very valuable in the game and out of the game, by the way. But no, for real. Your life is very valuable, and I think also, just as a very quick general tip, by the way, sometimes when I decide, or especially as an earlier younger player, there would be times where I would like try to go for a play, and I die, and it's just like, man, if I would have killed him, this could have happened. But since I didn't kill him, look at, I'm in spawn. Like, my respawn timer, let's say I won't respawn for another 10 seconds. That is 10 seconds of me not having any presence in the fight, not doing any damage at all. And maybe just because I wanted to get 1 extra Drogo's rocket in, and then that ends up getting me killed. So like, at the end of the day, is that really worth it? If I could have just played it maybe safe, or waited to maybe heal up or whatever, get my cooldowns, and then, do what I have to do. So playing safe is, playing safe doesn't always necessarily mean playing like scared, or, no, that just means trying to take a hold of powerful positions, but doing so in a coordinated manner. So like, you don't, feed. So, okay. Actually, you know what? Let me move this way instead. So essentially all you want to do here, try to push out with an off tank and a DPS. And you can either choose to go and take this side, especially if, like, I don't know, if you're like, if red team's playing the con, you want to get close to like either one of these sides. So maybe if you choose to use an ult, get a con ult off, and obviously be close to the edge of the map, all that good stuff. It's not necessary though, especially if there's already nobody here. You don't necessarily have to go there. So instead, what you can do is, with your off tank and DPS, you can push through here, right? and essentially take control of this part of the map. Because again, with how they're defending, let's say again the other team had main tank, off tank, DPS, support. Let's even say that this DPS is actually back here, right? If they're like this DPS easily gets pushed out, as well as the support. The support is forced to rotate this side. Off tank is also forced to, or DPS is also forced to rotate back this side. These two will probably be forced to move back as well. So how will their positions move according to how you are pressuring them? Essentially, their off tank will end up probably somewhere like right here. The support's going to be like all the way over here in the back. Then off tank, usually off tanks choose to either be here or here. They're going to either be in this tunnel or they're going to be in this, I don't know, this right side. And then behind them, there'll be DPS and like, you know, DPS or something. So that's usually how the enemy team's going to set up. And why did this happen? All because you also, you know, if you couldn't take a hold of this high ground, then you can also try to take a hold of this left side, and it still has somewhat the same effect. So that's really just up to you to choose how to go about doing that, right? Or like which side you wanna go for. Also, just another general tip: no matter what, even if your plan isn't that good, if you simply come up with a plan, communicate it to the team, and everybody's on the same page, that already gives you a much higher chance of winning a game, especially like a ranked game, than if you just don't and you're just like going through the motions and just playing the game to play, right? If at the very least, even if the plan isn't perfect or it's not the best and well thought out plan, maybe just because of the pure fact that it's coordinated, that alone can get you a lot of wins in ranked. And it's something that a lot of people have yet to fully figure out sometimes, it seems, but oh well. Anyway, okay. Final push. How do we do this? Well, really, this is, again, it's kind of straightforward. It really just depends on where, how much map possession you have, how your resource is doing. And when I say resources, I mean everything. Like resources, your health bar is a resource. That is why tanks have high health bars, high health pools. And they probably don't do as much damage, but I mean, some of them actually do quite a bit, but you know. But the reason that they have so much HP is because they essentially trade their resource, which is their health bar, for space, for map control. That is the trade-off there. And you know, as well, resources, your shields, ults, all that good stuff. So really, this only actually comes down to, as I said, trying to always play in a cluster or in or you know, close enough to each other that again you can try to help each other out. If a fight goes wrong, you know, maybe if the cart is, I don't know, like right here, and if you're main tanking, don't you know, have this well in your head. Don't bite off more than you can chew ever. Always say, or always have in your head that you know, this fight that I'm taking can potentially go wrong. And if it does, where do I go? If I push up all the way out here in the open and I take way too much damage as, I don't know, in Inara than I thought I should have or would have or whatever, where do I go? I'm literally out in the open. I'm just going to get myself killed. So how you should always be playing, and this is again a very general tip, but it is for all roles, no matter what you're playing, no matter what character you're playing, what role you're playing. This goes for everything. Natural cover is so important. It is insane how important natural cover is in this game, and a lot of games really. But you know, because it is essentially, you can even look at it as a shield, right? You can look at all these walls as shields that you can just hide behind for free. So if you have that in mind and you play close enough to these walls, always hugging some type of wall, you will have a much better time. Because, you know, if let's say the Inara is right here, actually even right here, even slightly behind the cart, right? If I need heals, all I have to do is walk 2 steps to the left here. and I'm behind a wall, I'm behind cover, I know that if I get pushed, and that is another smart thing. If I do get pushed, and let's say, where can I get pushed? Either through this tunnel or through like this backside of this left side of the map, right? It is still a narrow tunnel. It is still a narrow angle that they're peeking me from. So that actually also, weirdly enough, gives you also just a better chance of hitting your shots because they're in a much like more confined space, and you know where they're probably coming from. So that's also why sometimes some people are like jump the gun and say, "Oh, he's hacking. How did he know I was coming from there?" Well, sometimes it's not rocket science, you know. Sometimes you just count how many, like, you try to figure out where your enemies are positioned and what they might be trying to do, and based off of that, you know, like I said, if you put yourself in this position, then I know that I can only like let's say I'm gonna change the view here actually, like this. Let's say, you know, we have a support down here, main tank right here, I see an off tank here, and I see a DPS right here, and my team took control of this side of the map, down over here on this like left side, and I know for sure that they have the control of that side of the map, and I don't see where the other DPS is, because again, this is main tank, off tank, support, DPS. Hey, where's the other DPS? Well, you know, depending on where I'm at, where I'm positioned, let's say I'm again, I don't know, let's just say I'm like right here, then I'll be like, oh well, if I don't see him anywhere here, then where else can he be? It's going to be on this side. So I can already anticipate getting peeked from somebody from this side of the map. And that way, you just being aware of your surroundings and always like, you know, keeping count of where your enemies are is going to also be very beneficial to you. So, did I miss anything here, really? I don't think so. I just, you know, just push in a coordinated fashion, in a way where you're close enough. If you want to attack this left side, fine. But in my eyes, I usually like taking this right side instead. I think it's a little bit more beneficial because you can have an off tank right here. You know what? Let me show you guys something. That kind of moved my mark, but that's fine. Just draw it again. If there's an off tank here, this is what, you know, and this goes a little bit towards just like angles. What do we mean when we say angles? Well, or lines of sight, if you want to be more specific. This guy right here, what is his line of sight? He can see everything like this. I mean, technically back here too. Yeah, I'll actually just delete this line. That is everything that person can see. But let's say there's a DPS character like right here. He can only see like right about like this. Actually, that's a terrible line. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's more like something like, I messed it up again. Kind of like this. But then this kind of breaks off and then it's just kind of like that, right? He doesn't actually have an angle on this guy in the corner. So by playing this corner, you have such a free line of sight on all of this, and for someone to shoot you here, one of their DPSs would have to position themselves, I think, they have to either stand on top of this little like ledge to be able to then look down and then have the line of sight here, right? Or they have to go all the way out here in the open to be able to look at you. Maybe from here, right here on this ledge too. Maybe, I think you can technically see that as well. So for me, I feel like this gives you a much better advantage in terms of pushing. And so again, where would you position? You know, main tank. Let's just for general sake say that they're on the point. Even though a main tank doesn't always have to just auto bot to cart. A point tank like an Inara, you can get frisky as Inara and like also go in and make space. Your gun does a lot of damage and stuff too. I don't know why I keep saying Inara. That's just what I keep thinking about. Barrack, Inara, just whatever. You know what I mean? You can also take space, but just to keep things simple, that's how we're going to refer to it, right? Just main tank on point. We're going to have the off tank here with a DPS. for the support, support can either be, you know what, actually, oops, let me go down now. Yeah, oopsie, put my thingy. Okay, for support, you can either be, once you've, you know, let's say you have your off tank, your DPS here, and like your main tank like right here, cards like right here. That's 1, 2, 3. Your support can either be like still technically here in the back, although that's not the best position. I'd say probably here. They're usually gonna be behind this tree. You're gonna be behind this tree. Behind this tree, and you can peek either side, or even go into the tunnel and even like hard rotate all the way over here, if you need to. And then the other DPS might just like either be here in this tunnel as well next to the support, or just be in this tunnel over here. And that's about it. So that's how you do it. Now we're gonna go back a little bit. We're gonna go into defense. I'm gonna be a little bit quicker here, because, or actually, wait. I don't actually have to go over defense. I kind of explained it as I was also explaining the offense. Never mind. I think that's still plenty explanation. You know, if anything, just maybe the one thing I can point out is that technically sometimes you could because remember I said main tank here. It could be like off tank DPS support depending on which position they want to take. And in this, like the stairs that go up here, you could technically have like a DPS floating right here just to like relay information, and then they can back up and rotate to this backside, and then rotate all the way back over here, and you know, do all that kind of stuff. And just a quick thing that you can do on defense. And usually for defense, it really goes the same way as for offense, right? Those same positions that offense is looking for, that is honestly essentially where you should be on defense. Maybe the only thing that I'd also add is like, for example, usually if you're a damage character, like, you know, a DPS character, there's sometimes that, or a lot of the times actually, that especially if the card is already like around this choke, a lot of the times it's just going to be better for at least one of the DPS, if not sometimes even both, to just chill here in the spawn door. Because you can probably be as effective. Like, let's say you're playing Victor, you're playing Cassie. You're still going to be effective from this range, right? It's not going to take away too much. And, like, if you get chunked, then you can simply retreat back into your spawn. And you're fine. You can go back into the spawn, get some spawn heals, and then come back out. And you're perfectly safe, right? I personally don't usually go all the way here. If I can afford not to. If I can, because I see like how my enemies are positioned, and then maybe they're low or something, and I know that they're not going to peek me or whatever, there's not an immediate threat, maybe I can go all the way here. But and you'd be like, wow, dude, that's only a few steps. How important is that? That is very important. That is micro transitioning at its finest right there. Because again, if you go, you know, if you rotate or you walk all the way over here and you're on this little ledge, and you get chunked by like a Cassie combo, and now you're like 1 HP. As I said, where do you go now? You're completely out in the open, and even though this is still relatively close to spawn, it's not close enough. It really isn't. And if you're not careful, you're just gonna get blasted. So, you know, kind of got to be a little bit careful there. Okay, I think that just about wraps it up. I did say that point fights were a little bit different when you have ults than when you don't, but I think also at that point, that's just being a little too specific. Like, you can go anywhere on this map. Like I said, it's still essentially the same of where you want to go. If you're going to attack and you want to take this side, I already explained it. If you want to attack, you want to take that other side, I also explained it. So that's actually not too much has changed there. Just, you know, how much space you decide to take. Maybe if you have a Nando, right? Say you have a Nando as your main tank and a Khan as your off tank, and you're like right here, right? Maybe if you weren't to usually play as aggressive, because obviously you don't have those resources, but now you do, and in this next point fight, now you have Nando ult, now you have Khan ult, then like maybe you can have Khan walk on this left side, look for ult, try to ult someone off the map, or just straight up like hard push this whole left side deep, and the Nando can be chilling here until he sees that a team goes in, and then he assists and also just like ints, like just walk in, and then you ult here, and the whole ult radius is gonna be like about that big. You can get a play done that way and meet each other. Like I said, sometimes that's what we call like closing the pincer, whatever you want to call it. So pincering in Paladins is very important, and it's very important to get used to. Sometimes you I think especially as you play more ranked, you'll have more experience, and you'll be able to notice certain situations a lot more, or a lot better, and be able to maybe help without anybody even having to tell you. You can help close a pinch, and that will also win you a lot of games. But I think that about does it. I don't think I missed too many things. Obviously, there's a hazard. Blue room's weird. It's not as important to take control of this room, at least not usually. But I mean, it kind of can be, but it's whatever. Oh, actually, you know what? One thing I was forgetting actually is zone. What do we do for zones? Let's say that we cap the point here, right? How do you zone effectively? What is zoning, first of all? And I think I'll just make a quick video on what zoning is in general, but just to recap here. Zoning is essentially just trying to dismount your opponents and trying to make it hard for them to get back to the point to contest. That is essentially all that zoning is. So how do you zone effectively here on this map? Well, right here where I'm standing, actually. And I'm already here without even thinking about it. It's almost like muscle memory, honestly. This is probably one of the better places to zone. Let's say like we just finished a point fight here and we team wipe them, right? Let's say I'm playing, I don't know, a Victor or something. This is exactly where I want to stand. Usually some people will get like super greedy, and especially me in the early days, I thought this was the better way to zone. And I mean, you could technically still do this. Maybe if you're like a ruckus or something, or just something with like a tank with like mobility, then yeah, maybe you can stand here and just fire away, and then you just leap back and you're kind of safe. But usually as a DPS, especially as a DPS, this is the best spot that you can be to dismount, because you have this long line of sight. And what does this do essentially? Well, when they come out of spawn, sometimes they'll want to be cheeky. If they want to go through this left side and then maybe go through blue room or go through like these stairs to try to get to point, spawns right here and right here. They have to 100% cross over here if they want to go all the way this left side, or if they want to like cross through here and then go through like through mid here, or go through the stairs here. They have to cross this section right here. So having this line of sight from back here means that from all the way over here, you can dismount them. And also, if you do get a dismount from all the way back here to all the way over here, then that's a long way for them to walk. And you're doing all of this while staying completely and utterly safe and not risking yourself at all. And really, I think this is actually the only spot to zone. Off tank, if you're like a con, especially try to take advantage of those champions that have high fire rates and have like lots of bullets in their clips, and just spam out this angle. This and this angle over here are the two angles you want to spam out the most. But mostly this side. That's usually where people are going to come from. Because if you do see someone here, I mean, unless you have like grandpa reaction time, you should be able to just simply turn around and get the dismount on this side. So it's whatever. But yeah, those are the two major spots that you want to be dismounting from and zoning from while staying in this position here. And trust me, you will notice a difference immediately. It is insane. As soon as I learned about how to zone here in this zoning spot, it is insane how many times I finally stopped feeding. Because there would be times, like I said, that I would be like trying to zone from up here, and like, yeah, sure, I can see that left side. I can't see anything from this right side. And so sometimes someone will roll up on me and I just get deleted and I die. And I die on a zone. And if you die on the zone, that's terrible. It defeats the whole purpose. So yeah, this is definitely how you want to zone. And that way also, if somehow someone does get through on this left side and you don't get to dismount them, that's fine. You just relay the information to your team. And for this, in my eyes, again, depending on the situation, if only one person got past and it's maybe just a DPS, or well, it doesn't matter who they are. If it's just one person, maybe you can just have like one DPS stand over here, like one standing right here. So this is also another like for like your second DPS to be zoning from right here, because then you have the line of sight this way from the stairs and from blue room. And if you get pushed, then you can back up behind the statue, back up even further behind these walls, and you're safe. Sorry for the marks on the screen. Let me delete those. And you can stay safe here. Same, honestly, same for the support. You can a lot of these positions. It is pretty safe to have your support like not that very close by to like, you know, one of these DPS. Like the support could either be like, if the DPS is standing right here, then the support stands like right around here, or even a little bit more farther back. So you also have a slight LOS here. So in case this teammate somehow isn't looking to this left side and you are as a support, then you can also figure that out, relay the information to your team, and then you can adjust accordingly. If someone, especially if they're mounted and they don't get dismounted, then you start rotating to this side. On the contrary, you know, if you want to be on this side of the map, then you can either be like almost right here next to your support, because remember, obviously this zoning, this is after you've already wiped them, so it's fine. You're safe enough like right here next to your DPS. You can be like right here, whatever, and then you can also back up accordingly behind this wall. You're now on this almost like sometimes this is almost like a cubby side of the map in a way. Nice little chill corner over here. So yeah, you can back up here, or if you so wish to do so, you could technically stand here. Just always be aware that and make sure that there's nobody standing on like this left side, especially like the high ground or people that can push through here. Because then if you're down here, like I said, micro positioning all the time. If you're down here and there's people already ready to jump at you from this left side, or even just peeking you with like, if it's a Canessa, Leon, peeking you from all the way over there, and they just have this huge line of sight on you, and you have no way to get out fast, then you're dead. Again, this is high ground also. Like, you'd have to walk around, maybe if you don't have some kind of vertical mobility, you have to walk around, get on these stairs, go up. It takes too long. So if you're just right here, you know, you can just jiggle peek these walls, use your natural cover, and stay safe. And I mean, main tank, I think, yeah, it's just the statues, honestly, just statues OP. But all right, guys, that is my guide on how to win on Ascension Peak. Probably a you know, a general positioning guide, which are the power positions on the map. And yeah, that'll do it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you could leave maybe a like, a dislike, a comment, a sub, that would be very much appreciated. And even more so, if you really did like the content, I would very much appreciate it if you could share it with your friends. Share with your friends and just anybody you want to, and just yeah, let's get the content out there, boys and girls. Alrighties, that does it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.